All right, so that stuff gonna work out. We did the worst stuff there. Give a rundown of your honorable mentions first, then get into your main list, and then so it's gonna go, yeah,
All
back and
right.
forth there between all three of us. Then yeah, I'm gonna give 12, and then pass it to Nick, and then he's gonna give his 10, and then pass it to Dust. There, he's gonna give his honorable mentions and his 10, and then go from there, and then do that, all of that good stuff there. All right, so I'll go ahead, pull up my list here, honorable mentions, get all that good stuff. All right. Yeah. How was this year for film, do you think?
Uh, like any year for film, there's going to be some bangers. There's going to be some, some stuff that's just okay. There's going to be a lot of shit, which we discussed last week. But overall, I think this is probably one of the few years where I've seen I've seen things that are very wholly unique as far as my experience with film. Stuff like a couple of the items that are going to appear on my list later in discussion, but something that is truly wholly unique, especially when it comes to this talk about how every movie it's like a sequel or it's like based on an old IP or it's a remake or a reboot and all of that. And we got some really refreshing original films this year.
Mm. All right, so I'm gonna get into my first honorable mention here, and that is going to be for the film Smile 2. So Smile 2, there, yeah, he's doing the smile right there. Nick is doing it. So actually, yeah. Let me see if I can get a solo of Nick right there. Do you want to just go, yeah, Nick there? Boom, there you go. Doesn't that just creep you out right there?
Yeah, it's
Um,
horrifying.
Yeah, so Smile 2, this is a sequel to the first Smile film, which I thought the first Smile
Hmm.
film was a surprise for me. I wasn't really expecting much from it. I was like, okay, I think this is going to be pretty
Hmm.
bad. Another one of these kind of lazy horror movies like we talked about in worst of lists, like something like Tarot or something like Night Swim. But it actually was pretty good. I actually liked what the
Hmm.
movie had to say. Um, I loved this demon this demon just lives to fuck with you and just kind of
Oh,
ruin your life.
this demon's an asshole.
I mean, just pure asshole that this demon is. Here you got a different lead character, Naomi Scott, who's doing a lot of work here. She's doing not only this dramatic kind of horror performance, but also she's doing a musical performance as well. And I actually download the soundtrack for this movie. I actually think it's pretty good. I mean, she's
They
like
did
pop singer.
not have to go that hard for the soundtrack for this movie.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty good, decent pop songs, I think. Naomi Scott, people might know her. She was Princess Jasmine in the Aladdin
Hmm.
film. She was that, and I think she turns in a really good performance
Hmm.
here as her character. And yeah, what she kind of goes through in this movie and all the kind of different ways that this demon just puts her through it is really it's just really kind of crazy to watch. So yeah, and again, this was a sequel that it's like, hey, Smile does it again. Really surprised me a lot of how really good it was and the
Hmm.
things that it delved into. And then the way this movie ends, it's like, I mean, we're gonna get
Oh,
Smile
yeah,
86 by the
yeah.
time.
The possibilities are kind of endless with how this one ends. And I know both movies did really well at the box office. 3 is already greenlit, and I'm very curious to see what Parker Finn does with it, especially with how he's grown as a filmmaker just from seeing his evolution between these two movies.
Mm, yeah. My next honorable mention there is going to be for the film Long Legs. Long Legs was a movie that came out in 2024 there and starring Nicolas Cage. And a lot of people, this was kind of talked about there. It was kind of like one of those movies like Barbarian, which came out a couple years ago that
Mhm.
got good word of mouth and kind of spread of people going like, man, you got to go check this movie out. This movie's pretty good. And I think, more people started to check it out. Then you had the people kind of going like, well, it's not that scary. It's not that
Yeah,
horrifying,
yeah. 99% of the time, you get those like promos of the scariest movie ever made. That
Yeah,
is just setting that up for failure because 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna get that.
yeah. And I thought the atmosphere in this movie was very creepy. I loved what they did with it. I loved how they played with a lot of that. I think that's really beautifully well done in this movie. This is directed by Oswald Perkins, who has another movie coming up this year called The Monkey, and which I'm anticipating. They're heavily anticipating after what he did with this film. But yeah, I mean, kind of this, people compared it to like something like Silence of the Lambs, that you had that kind of that detective aspect of there. I didn't completely wasn't in love with the whole kind of supernatural thing they kind of throw in there. I wasn't completely in love with that, but yeah, I didn't hate the movie for it. And then when the reveal comes, I thought it was a solid reveal. I thought it was a good reveal there. And Mika Monroe, who's been turning in a lot of good performances there as a scream queen, I guess you would say, with stuff like she was in It Follows as well. She was in that as the lead character, so she's been really great. And Nicolas Cage, people say like, oh well, it's just Nicolas Cage. Well, this is how he normally acts. So like, what the fuck is the difference?
He wasn't even in the movie. He just kind of wandered on set.
Yeah, he just kind of just wandered on set. It's like, oh hey, sure, man, we'll have you a part of it. But yeah, I thought it was really good. There, good old Long Legs there, and like you said, I mean, I think it kind of just got beat up because people were like, "This, you will shit yourself if you see this movie." You know what I mean? It's like kind of people do the Terrifier thing, like, oh my god, Terrifier. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is the scariest thing you ever will see. It's like people fainting in the theater. It's like, all right, it's not all that. All right. So my other honorable mention that I have here is for the movie Kill. And Kill was a movie there that just kind of snuck up on me. I heard, again, this was a movie that worked off of word of mouth. People saying like, oh my God, this movie's badass. It's this action film on train there. And yeah, I think it lived up to the hype there. Going to see it, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool there. It's a good bottle film, great action film that you have here of these characters stuck on the train. He's kind of moving throughout the train, taking off the guys that are holding it hostage one by one. And if it's a Indian Hindi language, their film, so it's all subtitled. They fucking crazy over there. They be just beating the shit out of each other. We're going to talk about another movie that's on my list, in which is an Indian film in which they do that. But yeah, impressive action stuff in here too. The action star of this movie does an awesome job. I mean, a lot of the stuff there which you see. So yeah, I absolutely love this and enjoyed this film a whole lot. A lot of fun. This movie, and one of the best action movies I think of the year. This kind of came out there, so I absolutely really enjoyed this and liked it quite a bit there. We just mentioned Indian people beating the shit out of each other. We got another one coming up that's on my list here, and that is with Monkey Man. This was the Dev Patel directed film there, and he put his blood, his sweat, his tears all into this movie there to finish making it. So shout out to Dev Patel for doing that. And getting in training, getting in shape, and he actually really does do martial arts training there, Dev Patel, for that, and kind of positions, hey, if people won't make me an action star, well, I'll make myself an action star. I'll do it myself. There, Thanos voice that you kind of got there. So yeah, I mean, this was really good. I think it's kind of disappointing in some parts of the movie with the camera. The camera won't stay still at certain moments, like when you really want to see some stuff there. That's a little frustrating, but overall I still think this is a very strong action film, and kind of the mythology that they kind of bring into it. I think me and Dust, when we were talking about the movie when we reviewed it, wish the whole Monkey Man element kind of played a little bit more of a bigger part there, which is kind of like his wrestling persona there, is that he kind of dawns. Dev Patel is the Monkey Man. I wish that maybe played a little bit of a bigger part in the movie. But yeah, just
there are clear elements where this movie was stitched together as best he could do it.
Yeah. And I think the last part of the film there, he had to film it on an iPhone there.
Yeah, there's a lot of it where it was basically filmed on an iPhone.
Yeah, so he had to kind of do that. So yeah, so maybe that's what it was a little bit towards the shakiness, maybe at the end there. It was like when you see those videos of people fighting at the Waffle House, you're trying to get the best angle, you're trying to, it's like, oh shit, you know what I mean? You're trying to get it a little shaky there. So maybe there's a little bit of that kind of going on, but yeah. My next honorable mention there, in a sea of terrible horror movies there that came out last year, there were some great ones too. And one of them being the first Omen. I've never been that much into the Omen franchise. I don't think I've seen the very first original Omen film. I think I saw the remake with Julia Stiles. I saw that one. From my understanding, the first Omen film is really not that much to write home about, from my understanding there. But this one was very impressive. I saw it on Hulu there when it was streaming. I missed it in theaters. I think Nick, you came on to review.
Yeah, I came on to review it when it first came out, and I freaking adored this movie. As far as like because this is a first time feature director from Arkasha Stevenson, who's done stuff, who's directed episodes of Legion, where once you have that in mind, you see where the movie gets its kind of visual flair. But it's very impressive that a big studio released a horror movie that was this good, because they're the first ones who say, okay, oh, this is a part of an existing IP. All right, let's just slap something together. But this movie, it retroactively makes the original Omen, I think, a much more enjoyable experience, because this is also kind of made to be in the spirit of the 70s and what this movie has to say about female and bodily autonomy, especially, in the wake of Roe v. Wade, which was repealed this year. It makes this very poignant and prescient watch.
Yeah. And great performance from Neil Tiger Free there, who comes in. Great.
Yeah, I said it when the movie first came out, is that Nell, in a perfect world, Nell Tiger Free would be an Oscar nominee, but the Academy is not that cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great performances there from Lee Asher, but yeah, I mean, she is really fantastic in the movie. The stuff that she does, I mean, people have been talking about Lily Rose Depp and Nosferatu, like what she does with her body, but the stuff that Neil Tiger Free does with her body in this, the physicality she brings.
Oh, especially in the kind of in the scene that is overtly a homage to Possession, where it's just a almost 3-minute long unbroken take where she's just in the throes of demonic possession.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's very, very good, and she really does a great job at that. Absolutely really enjoyed the first Omen. This was a movie. My last honorable mention here that kind of came out of nowhere. Heard some, again, situation, word of mouth, heard some people talking about it. It's a Netflix film, and it's called It's What's Inside. It's What's Inside is a movie here that's about these group of friends hanging out together. They're hanging out before one of their friends get married, and then one of their friends brings a machine that allows them to swap each other's bodies. So they're able to put their consciousness into each other's bodies there. And of course, craziness and kind of madness ensues from that. All these unresolved, pent-up feelings that the group has, all the animosity there that kind of comes out, and you see that in this movie. I think this works really well. I said this when I was reviewing the movie A Better Man as well. Like, this is 2024 was the year to hate yourself, because you had The Substance, you had A Better Man, and you had this one here. If you got really severe body dysmorphia, body issues, low self-esteem issues, this was the year for you, because you had It's What's Inside, you had A Better Man, and you had The Substance. And this works really well. I highly recommend people checking it out. It's one of my, best surprises of 2024 there, just a movie just to see there, and kind of what happens. But yeah, I mean, awesome film there. I just checked it out this past weekend. Holy shit. I was like very surprised by the movie of how, because when you have an element like this where you have actors constantly switching bodies, you never once lose track of who's in who, because they have a gimmick where, at the start of the game they play, they'll have take a Polaroid picture of who they are at the start and then pin it on you if they guess right. But you never lose it. And the whole style of the movie, where it's switching back and forth between different color palettes, and that shows you like who's in who, and the twist that comes at the end of it, the reveal of it is so much fun. They're playing who's the werewolf, or
it's werewolf mafia but with body swapping.
Yeah, which is really good. And they do a good job in, keeping up, so you can keep up who's who and who's in whose body, because you can say it could be kind of confusing there with that. So they do a really good job with that. So highly recommend people check it out if you have not seen it. All right, so I'm into my list. So, I got to be different from everybody. So I did 12. So I got to be different from everybody there. So my number 12 movie is a movie I just mentioned, A Better Man. This is starring Sebastian Stan there. Sebastian, who just recently won the Golden Globe for his performance in this movie. And it's dealing with a man who has fibrosis, I think is the issue there. He grows the tumors on his face there, and actually has an actor who actually has that illness. And then like I said, 2024 was the year to hate yourself, because this pretty much deals with a lot of body image. This much deals with a guy who has this deformity, and then kind of gets the deformity cured there. He's able to get him to look like, hey, Sebastian Stan, everything should be good, life should be awesome now. But then fucking Adam Pearson comes and then kind of ruins everything. He's like, wait, what the fuck? He's like, life should be going great for me. So you kind of get that. And and Sebastian Stan did some really great performances this year. A Different Man. I loved him in The Apprentice. I thought he was really good in that. I think, outside the MCU stuff, I mean, he's doing some really amazing stuff there actor-wise. He's really pushing himself, doing some different things. I really like that. He could just coast on, hey, I'm Sebastian Stan, I'm a good-looking guy. I could be doing romantic comedies. I could be doing a movie with Sydney Sweeney. You know what I mean? I could be doing that, but I'm going to put on this mask here and do this and act like a crazy person. And I like that quite a bit there.
He'll do a movie where he plays a cannibal.
Yeah. Now, if he gets to eat Sydney Sweeney, it's like, okay, I get interested. All right.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, there we go. I get to eat her. All right, fantastic. But I very much greatly enjoyed A Different Man. That's number 12 on my list. Nick, what you got, man?
Okay, so just to run through my honorable mentions real quick. My fourth one, it's going to be a movie that is going to be, you're going to know very quickly or whether or not this is going to be your cup of tea, and that's Terrifier 3. So I was kind of hating on the original Terrifier. I didn't really get what he was going for. It was, kind of very just gore for gore's sake. But as these movies have gone on and Damien Leone's gotten more money, he's gotten more help on these productions, and had fewer hats to juggle, you see that there is something to these stories, especially with this whole battle between good and evil with Lauren Vera and Art the Clown. And of course, the gore has never looked better in this. There was moments in this where it's very hard to make me gag in a horror movie, and this one, especially in the third act, it was getting to me. And the added addition of Samantha Scafidi, who's reprising her role from the first movie, it adds a different element to another villain character in this. I really dug it. I can't wait to see what Leone and company does with the fourth one. My third one is another Netflix film. It was the newest film from director Jeremy Saulnier, who did Green Book, and that's Rebel Ridge. Of course, the coming out party for our Green Lantern, Aaron Pierre, with another black man getting accosted by some racist ass cops, and it is awesome. As far as just the screen presence that Pierre carries, the action set pieces, the tension building that Jeremy Saulnier does in this, it is just one of the most fun watches of the year. And goddamn, Aaron Pierre is a fucking superstar. I can't wait to see what he does with Green Lantern. Next up is a horror film that I just recently saw. It's starring Sophie Thatcher, Chloe East, and Hugh Grant, and that's Heretic, a movie that it was a movie that I thought was going to be way more mean-spirited in its discussion of faith and religion, but it ends up being one of the more positive depictions of it. And I was talking about this movie with my partner, and she wasn't jazzed about all of the arguments that Hugh Grant was making about, it's like, all religion, it's bad. It's all like different ways to control people. And I like that you could come away with that argument, but the movie always makes it clear that Hugh Grant is the fucking psychopathic villain in this. It ends up, I think, having a more balanced take on that. On top of that, I think the movie does kind of veer off in its third act. I think at a certain point, it kind of loses itself in its message, but the filmmaking in this, it never loses its sauce. I will say that. And the last honorable mention I'll put out is one we've already talked about with The First Omen. It's very rare that a big studio horror movie that is a prequel to an existing franchise ends up being, I'd say, one of the best entries in it, because the Omen franchise, outside of the first one, the original, it's, nothing to sing home about. They often end up repeating themselves a lot with, about evil and Satan. And this one, it ends up being about so much more than that, especially in the wake of current events.
Yeah.
And on top of having one of the best performances from Nell Tiger Free.
Yeah. Awesome performance from her, man. Yeah. And so what's on your main list there?
Okay, so on my main list, my number 10 entry is the newest Richard Linklater film, and that's Hitman. You know, our coming out point for you know, America's new favorite white boy, Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
It's one of his best performances of the year. The movie, it is, you know, so it goes back to what I usually love from Richard Linklater, where he has these kind of indie roots where he, you know, deals with more, you know, day-to-day folks, while also having this kind of insane plot of Gary, who is played by Glenn Powell, being a fake hitman. And some of the a lot of the scenes with him as these different hitmen, they are the highlight. They are an actor's dream to play all these different characters in this, and it never ceases to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I'm not sure I liked it as much as everybody else there. But yeah, I thought this was a good turn there. Glenn Powell, like I said, gets to do a lot of different stuff here, play some different performances that he goes. I bet he had a lot of fun doing this there.
Yeah, and I wasn't initially as high on Glenn Powell, but you know, the second he plays wrong, it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And did a really great job in Twisters. Did a good, solid job of that. As soon as he enters the movie, it's like, oh, okay. Well, the movie kind of turns up. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about Twisters when I saw it, but the second he enters the picture, it's like, oh my god, this movie has life.
Yeah. So that was number 10 for you, Nick. Dusk. Honorable mentions there, and then you can go into your main list there.
Sure. As Nick already mentioned before, Heretic was on my honorable mentions. I think that just really sold it was just how kind of bottleneck it was. And it was a very simple movie, but it had a point to tell. And I was really impressed with just limited cast and that they were able to kind of squeeze out the tense nature of the movie and how they would do it. And yeah, man, we're getting a renaissance for him just playing a bad guy, honestly.
Hugh Grant.
Just do whatever he wants to do. But yeah, honestly, Nick pretty much covered everything I wanted to say about this movie. My other number 4 honorable mentions was Monkey Man, which you already brought up, Josh. Dave Pell put his blood, sweat, and tears into it. For all its faults, I ended up enjoying it more than I didn't. And for nothing else, I was impressed that he was willing to put his money where his mouth is and try to do something, even when some parts succeeded and some parts didn't. I think ultimately Kill is a better version of what he was trying to go for, but I still got to give credit for credit's due. I do wish that he was just able to fully get that firm story, just what he was trying to go for in there. But hey, what he had in his hand, he was able to put something together, and I can respect that. Neither of you guys put this one, but this one's number 3. I only have 4 of them, but this was Late Night with the Devil. I actually quite like this one. This one has a lot of problems, and some of the effects don't quite match everything else, and it's not super believable. But I just really enjoyed the premise, and I thought as a kind of really focused, smaller horror movie, this one ended up working with me a little bit more than I think it did others, and I ended up kind of enjoying it more enough than not, despite its problems. But it ended up giving me enough to give it an honorable mention. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say, yeah, I thought it was good. I was happy for David Dastmalchian. I mean, he's a leading man in this. I just think the gimmick of I say maybe gimmick, but the story of like the 70s kind of aspect that he's a talk show host and that they're trying to bring in that. And okay, it's your standard kind of a little bit of your possession type story with that kind of in there. It was fine. I thought it was all right.
I liked the movie quite a bit, but I do feel like it did kind of get tired with how strictly it was sticking to the format of this late night talk show.
Yeah.
And I felt like nothing in the movie really lives up to the actual conversation with the possessed girl, because that is
Right.
easily the best scene in the entire movie, and nothing even comes close to it.
Yeah. I think at a certain point, I think what really helped it is actually probably change the scenery or
Mhm.
something, really just kind of breaking down. And we just stop. We just like, all right. And we just go from there. We go all the way with it. But I can respect them for trying to stay with their bottleneck way of telling it, and for better or worse, and end up playing it the way it is. But I end up, that's why it's not on my list. But it was an interest, and I did want to give it a shout out. The last one, it's not a great movie, but I did have a lot of fun with it, and this is Beekeeper.
Oh,
Beekeeper.
fuck all of you. This movie is awesome.
No, I mean,
I don't
hey,
care
it's
what
on my
nobody
honorable
else says.
mentions, man. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of
Oh.
fun. I
Yeah.
saw this is the
Yeah.
only movie I've seen twice.
You
I saw it
good?
twice. I saw it the first time for a review, and then I took a buddy with me to go watch The Beekeeper, and we had a great time. I had a great time both times.
Your
This is,
honeycomb's big. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm from the trailer I've seen from his next movie, The Working Man, it just looks like a spiritual sequel.
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. He's going through the Jason Statham just in a job phase of the multiverse.
Jason
Beekeeper,
Statham
working man,
as-
mechanic.
You know, there's this video online where it's like a radio show host who like does an impression as Jason Statham, the librarian, and I so want that
Let's
to
do
be in his next one. It's like, boy, I told you all to be quiet. And you're
Exactly.
still fucking talking.
Exactly. He just beats the shit out of him, and it goes shh at the end.
I mean, who doesn't want to kill scammers, telemarketers?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, who doesn't want to kill scammers, telemarketers, crypto bros?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was for the premise, for what it was good to see a fun action movie that was just going for it. And that's, again, it was number one of my honorable mentions. It would have made the list, but
Hey, it understands the most, I'd say one of the most important aspects of making a great action movie. You got to make your villains despicable.
yes,
And magnifique.
did a good job.
It was like-
there.
What is it controversial to say that The Beekeeper is probably David Ayer's best movie?
I like Fury. I love Fury a lot.
Fury's good.
I like Fury a lot.
Fury's
Okay,
good.
best made movie since Fury.
Yeah, I would say best made since Fury.
Yeah, it's not a high bar. No. Yeah. So, what's on your list there? Number 10 for you.
Number 10 for me is The Fall Guy.
Oh, I
Fall
fucking
Guy.
love The Fall Guy.
I very much The Fall Guy isn't perfect, but just, man, it was just so fun seeing a stunt movie about stunt guys. Honestly, just don't get as much credit as they should. The premise was fun. Ryan Gosling was great in it. Really had a good time. It's the wrappings around it that don't quite sit all the way in and pull all of its weight, but honestly, Ryan Gosling and just the stunt performances really do carry most of this movie. It's fun tone while still balancing a slightly serious demeanor. Really ends up carrying it more often than not, and yeah, I just had a lot of fun with it. It's not the most amazing movie of the year, but I did have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I thought that was decent. I think, sometimes you put two pretty people together and they got zero chemistry, but I think here, Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, I think they got chemistry. I think they actually have some pretty decent chemistry here and they work well together. Where this movie loses me is where it goes. I mean, the ending of it, I'm like, wait, what the fuck? What kind of happens there? But for the most part, I think it's solid. And like you said, the movie about, stuntmen and kind of like that and how kind of underappreciated they are should be a category in the Oscars. Should be there. But what did you think about it, Nick?
Oh, I dug the hell out of the movie. It's probably I'm kind of very hot and cold on David Leitch as a director. I think he, kind of peaked with the co-directing on the first John Wick. I liked Deadpool 2. I think probably more than most of the people here, but you can feel the love and the passion behind this movie, where I feel like Leitch often gets saddled with kind of like a work for hire director.
Yeah. Did you like Bullet Train? Did you like that?
Oh, I liked Bullet Train a lot.
Okay. Yeah. He also did Hobbs and Shaw. He also did that.
Idris Elba is by far the best part of that movie.
Yeah, because he's a Terminator.
Oh, he's Black Superman.
Yeah, he's Black Superman. I think maybe since John, I think Atomic Blonde is probably his best thing.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but thank you, Dust. Thank you for that number 10. Is
No problem.
The Fall Guy. So I'm gonna go into my list. Give it number 11. It's a movie that I just reviewed just recently there, and I reviewed it with Hunter. And it is the movie Baby Girl. This is starring
You slut.
and this is a movie starring Nicole Kidman there. And yeah, I mean, it pays off. I mean, it's a good erotic thriller that you got here. I just talked about in my worst of Miller's Girl, which fails to kind of go all the way with it, with that kind of a erotic thriller concept. But not this movie. I think this movie does very well at doing that, executed incredibly well. Nicole Kidman does a fantastic job here. She was nominated, I think, right, for this performance there in Baby Girl as well at the Golden Globes. Also, Harris Dickinson, I mean, their dynamic works really well. And just exploring the nature of power imbalances, of age gaps, of this kind of sexual relationship, I think works really, really well there in this. But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, this definitely pays off on the concept that it delivers. So everything you're seeing in the trailer, you do get in the movie there. It's sexy, it's, daring, I think, of that with this movie. If you go see it, probably be prepared to see a lot of old women there, old white women, and they'll be talking. They'll be this a lot because that's what happened with me.
It's a lot of old white women ready to see some smut.
Yeah, they ready to see that. Yeah, they should have played the Nicole Kidman AMC intro there. That should be added to this. This movie should be added to the list of movies she's watching.
No. You got to wait until after the movie has made its run, and then you edit in the sex scenes from Baby Girl into the AMC montage.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be great. I think you should absolutely do that. But yeah, Baby Girl, number 11 on my list. Nick, you got number 9. What's going on?
Okay. Number 9, it's another movie that kind of hit the award circuit. It has probably my favorite for the Best Actress race, and that's Sean Baker's Anora. Sean Baker, he's a filmmaker that I really admire off of his last film, Red Rocket, where with that movie, you were kind of meant to hate its protagonist. With Anora, you never forget to feel sympathy in the terms of this kind of whirlwind romance, and how Baker has always had a focus on a lot of his movies about destigmatizing and really putting a human story behind a lot of people in the adult industry and a lot of sex workers. And this ends up being one of my favorite depictions of that, or at least the one that's the most sympathetic. He probably has my favorite written character, which is Yura Borisov as Igor, who is probably the only male character in here with any kind of decency. In the movie, it's a very delicate balance to make me laugh one minute, make me just kind of very anxious and kind of biting my nails, and then crying just like you are at the end of this movie. It's kind of an amazing thing. And on top of that, yeah, there's a reason that Mikey Madison is gonna blow up as huge as she is after this movie, and you just need to watch this.
Yeah, it's a tight race, I think, for Best Actress. Her and some other people, so it's a tight race there. Who's gonna eke it out? But yeah, loved Anora a lot there from Sean Baker. So Dusk, you got your number 9 film there. What you got?
That's right. My number 9 is Saturday Night. I enjoyed the entourage, which is all these different characters on this very specific time frame. Usually, when you have like a biopic, you go through and you try to find. There's the ones that cover their entire life, or just do it like Reagan and just don't do it well. And then there are ones that kind of do very, very specific elements in their life and try to focus on that. And that tends to lead to a lot more interesting stories when you just focus on this very specific nature and you're able to get more meat out of this. This felt like that. Except this one, instead of being about an individual, it's about a specific moment in time with a group of people and individuals. And that's what really carries it. Of course, a lot of it is hyper stylized, hyper increased, really extreme versions of these characters. But at the very specific nature and what in time period it's taking place for this, and how really different and revolutionary this idea was going to be without any of them truly realizing it. Or even the main character himself not fully understanding what it is he's trying to make, just knowing he wants and has to make it. And at the end of it, I thought everybody was just a very strong cast in it. Everyone did a good job. Ultimately, though, that is its both greatest strength and weakness, is that it doesn't really have a super driving force.
Mhm.
It's just a moment in time that we're kind of focusing on, and all these different characters, and we're able to get a lot of meat or bones from these characters. We're just able to kind of get the quick glimpses of each individual, aside from a few characters in them. And that's why it doesn't really increase further up. It's a good movie. I think it's a solid movie, and I did make my best of, but it's on the lower rung for that reason. Because I just want a little bit more, some meat on the bones. But for what it is and what it came to be, I thought it was a very solid, strong movie.
Okay. So back to me here. So I'm on my number 10. And my number 10 movie is Nosferatu, which is the film from Robert Eggers there. Perfect for Christmas time. We got a new movie to watch during the holidays there. He blessed us with this.
I took my my partner, my sister, and my brother-in-law to see it.
Yeah, see some vampire dong there. You saw his massive dong. You saw
that rotting 10-inch dong in full IMAX.
So Nosferatu, I mean, people say Robert Eggers, he hasn't missed yet. I mean, just back to back hits there from The Lighthouse, Northman, The Witch, just everything he's been really great at. And this one is not my favorite Eggers movie there, but I still think even lesser kind of Robert Eggers is still better than most people's work there. And I still think it's still a lot to love about this movie. Lily Rose Depp, I think he's very fantastic. Nicholas Hoult, who had a great year with this film there. Garfield, I mean, he knocked it out of the park. Nick said that with that performance there, that voice work. So he's had a great, fantastic year there. But yeah, I mean, that Juror number 2, yeah. So Nicholas Hoult had a really great year. But yeah, this was a fantastic movie. The gothic aesthetic here with it worked really well. Talked about it in the review. Had some little bit of complaints with it. But still, I still overall think it's a very strong movie in all those aspects. What did you guys think about Nosferatu there? You're going to get into it a little bit later, but I want to get some quick thoughts about it.
Yeah, Robert Eggers is basically 4 for 4. There's even in because I think it's either. I think this is probably. I think I put it third on my list of like the tier of Eggers, but the movie is still fantastic in terms of its visuals. It's one of the best looking movies of the year, even in movies where it's like in damn near pitch black. You can still see every image clearly. Bill Skarsgård, he disappears into this role. He is horrifying as Count Orlok, and I feel like this movie, because I also rewatched the 1922 film, and I feel like Eggers' movie hits a little bit harder on what Murnau was trying to do in that original film. I feel like it does a better job at making Ellen a more active character than in the previous version of it.
So Nick, you're gonna hit us with your number 8.
My number 8 is a movie that we've already talked about, and it is Mile 2. Again, in terms of like big studio releasing horror, it's kind of incredible that not only do I think Parker Finn made a movie that it's an amazing thing when you can make a movie that's as good as your previous film, but Parker Finn did one better and made a movie that I think is better than the original film. I feel like the added stakes of having a character like Naomi Scott's Sky Riley, who is, much more in the public eye. So the opportunity for this demon to fuck with her, it's just increased tenfold. She has this added pressure of not only this, big world tour, this image that she has to present to the world, and this expectation that, she's probably going to fail anyway. That makes all of the the tension and the scares in this even that more entertaining. And on top of that, this probably has one of my favorite opening scenes of the year with this simulated long take with Kyle Gallner reprising his role from the last movie. I'm not going to say how that ends, but it is chef's kiss. And in addition, seeing a filmmaker like Parker Finn grow from his previous outing, because I think Smile, I feel like that was probably his feature-length debut, and he's only improved since then.
Which concert would you rather go to? M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's concert, or would you rather go to Sky Riley?
Please, Lady Raven would be an opener for Sky Riley.
Okay, wow. Shout out to Parker.
Freaking Lady Raven taking an intermission in her concert. Get that weak shit out of here.
You were right. Smile was the directorial debut for him there.
Yes.
All right, Dusk, you're gonna hit us with your number 8 film. What is that?
My number 8 film is Conclave.
Okay.
What can I say about this movie specifically? Great performance by Ralph Fiennes. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't care.
Yeah,
he does a great job. Stanley Tucci, everybody does a great job in this movie. It's a very quiet movie until it gets very explosive later on. It's about the church. It's about faith. It's about many aspects of it. And I really enjoyed quite a bit of this movie. The only reason it's lower on this list is because the ending I didn't quite care for. I felt it, while it is to the point of the movie, I went, I see what you did there. And the ending is going to be one of those two things. Either you're going to love it because of what it's trying to say at that moment, or I went, this could have ended 15 minutes earlier and I would have gotten the message and it would have been better without pigeonholing yourself. But they went with the former rather than latter. And for better or worse, I think it does end up hurting it somewhat, but I can't deny how strong the rest of the 3/4 of the movie was all the way through. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, that's why I've chosen Conclave as my number 8.
Yeah. I'm going to check this movie out. It's on streaming. It's on Hulu, I think, right now.
Yeah, give it a shot.
So I want to check it out. Have you checked it out there, Nick?
No, I haven't. I downloaded it on my phone for, when I go back to the ship for duty. I just haven't hit play on it yet.
Yeah, watch it how it's meant to be watched. Watch it on your phone.
Yeah.
Watch it on your phone. While you're on the toilet.
Well, everything is meant to be watched.
Suck in that cinema experience there while you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm on my number 9 pick right here. So this is a movie that I missed in theaters, but I was able to catch when it came to streaming, and that is the movie Love Lies Bleeding. Lies Bleeding. This was kind of the movie that a little bit I hoped that Drive-Away Dolls would be from Ethan Coen. This was kind of a little bit open. This is a little bit more dramatic. Obviously, the Drive-Away Dolls is just more of a straight-up comedy.
It feels far more like a Coen Brothers movie than the Coen Brother movie.
Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, this is the Coen Brother movie I've been kind of looking for. This is directed by Rose Glass. This is starring Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. And yeah, this was just a great dark crime film there that you had. I always love crime movies there. Where it's about characters that kind of get in over their head in situations. That's what you kind of have here with Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien that kind of get thrown into the situation that they're not prepared for, which is really good. You got a great performance here, as well as always is. He always is Ed Harris, who has a great kind of role here, who fills in great as the Crypt Keeper. You got that. So yeah, great. Also, tragic love story that also happens in this movie as well. And Katie O'Brien, she was kind of my early pick early on for best supporting there before some other people came in. But yeah, Katie O'Brien is fantastic in this. I'd love to see her in some more stuff after watching this. I think she's really good. And so absolutely love it. I think she's kind of one of those people that I think she kind of pitched to be in this, on Twitter or something. Like she's like, "Hey, what about me?" And then it's like, "Hey, I got to look for this role to be in it," and then she got cast. So shout out to her for that. She's great. So yeah, that would be my number number 9 would be Love Lies Bleeding. All right. So Nick, back to you, man. You're going to be doing number 7.
Okay, number 7 on my list. It's a movie that we've talked about, so I won't take up too much of our time. But it's Nosferatu. Sorry, I was trying to do the voice, but I can't go that low. And speaking of, what can I say that hasn't already been said? It's an absolutely stunning movie. I think it is great to see this kind of very gothic look and style make its comeback in the year 2024. I feel like this is probably my favorite interpretation of the story of Dracula, because it's a book I love. It's a story that has been told to death, no pun intended, but it's refreshing when somebody can take it to its barest bones and, still make something special out of it.
I've been thinking about if we should do a retro review, go back, do the 1922 film or the 1979 film. What would you like there, Nick?
Either or. I feel like, why go back when you have this version? I feel like does it better than both of them.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I disagree on that.
Maybe you should duel. Maybe y'all duel.
Well, I left my Yu-Gi-Oh cards at my parents' house, so I'll have to go back there.
But that was your number 7. There was Nosferatu there. So Dusk, you got your number 7.
My number 7 is an outlier. This one's I don't think it's on any of your lists. I ended up seeing it relatively later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is a very unfortunate case of what you have when you don't do proper marketing and you really don't market well. And when the movie ended up being far better than it had any right to be. This is my number 7 is Transformers 1. What started off as, when we reviewed it, or at least I looked at the trailers, I was like, oh, it's just going to be some dumb kiddie movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be extremely childish. While the beginning kind of has elements of it, it's less childish. And as the story goes on, it gets more. It gets more and more.
It starts very juvenile, but then at some point in the middle of the second act, they're like, "Viva Revolution!"
Yeah, right around when Megatron, D, realizes that T-16, when he finds out the truth, him and Orion Pax have 2 very different reactions to learning the truth. One fails, and one succeeds in how you're going to handle it. And unfortunately, their bromance is tested. Their friendship is tested and pushed. And eventually, if you've known any history about Transformers, ultimately breaks and forms 2 of the longest rival characters. And you understand, well, how did they get to that point? And I think this movie does a strong point of giving a decent and a pretty strong enough origin while combining elements from various Transformers lore to try and create a origin. They've done various different origins for it. They've done the whole Prime television series, which was very well done. They've done various comic origins for these characters. They did the Cybertron games, which are very underrated. There's a great origins for them, or at least the War for Cybertron. And it's a shame. This movie could have done way better if the marketing had actually marketed what it was. Is a pretty family-friendly movie that has some takes itself pretty seriously in the later half. Quite early after the first quarter, really.
Yeah, this movie brought up a very important distinction, I think, especially this year, because you had great animated movies like this, or The Wild Robot, or Inside Out 2. And those are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I finish my point before you interrupt me?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you one more, but if you interrupt me again, just don't. But yeah, those movies are family movies. There's one anybody any age can enjoy, versus something like Despicable Me 4, which is those are kids movies.
Yeah. So I'm surprised it was on you. I didn't know you loved it that much. I knew you were a big fan.
I liked it more than I think I ended up. It's not the greatest thing ever, but if I had the comparative of the other animated movies I've seen, the ones I've seen this year,
Yeah, as far as I think the line between like expectations and result,
Yeah.
this kind of blew it out of the water because I wasn't expecting much when I went to see it, and I saw it by myself. I was blown away. I texted my partner, I was like, "Babe, we got to watch this when you get back from your trip," and
Mhm.
we still haven't watched it together yet.
You'll get there. But yeah, to my own surprise, I ended up enjoying it again. It's lower on the list, but I thought I ended up getting on there more than the other animated movies I've seen this year. Well, aside
Mhm.
from one other, there is one other
Mhm.
on this list. Well deserved.
All right. So for my number 8 pick, for one of number 8 best movie of 2024, that would be Strange Darling. Strange Darling, the small movie that came out there, like I said, helped save the sea of terrible horror movies that came out in 2024 there. This is a little bit more of a thriller that you have here that plays with your expectations on things. Really good. You mentioned Kyle Gallagher, who was just in Smile 2. He had a little bit of that, but he comes in here in another horror style movie. Yeah, fantastic performance also from Willa Fitzgerald, who's I didn't really notice at first. It's kind of a little bit unrecognizable for me in this. People might know her. She was in that Mike Flanagan show there.
Yeah,
Um,
Fall of the House of Usher. She was also in the first season of Reacher as one of
mm,
the main supporting characters in that.
yeah, so she comes in, turns in a great performance in there. Great year for women in horror in 2024. There are a lot of
Oh
great
yeah.
lead performances from women in that. And yeah, this cat and mouse game that kind of goes in this movie is really great.
Mhm.
It's a great movie that it's best not to know much going into it. Just kind of go in blind, like I did. I didn't really know anything about this movie. I just saw it as like, hey, it's playing. I want to go check it out, and just seeing kind of all how the things kind of unfold is really great. I would say them kind of playing with the time and the order of structure of things
Mhm.
doesn't really benefit the movie a whole lot. I don't think.
Ooh, I disagree, and this movie's also on my list, and I'll get more into it when I get there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little bit of a cheap gimmick the way they do it. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts there when you kind of get into it on your list. But yeah, great outing there, I think, for this movie for me there from JT Mulner, who did Strange Darling. So that's number 8 on my list. And then Nick, you got a movie that I have not heard of on your list at number 6. Tell us about it. Why is this on your list?
Oh, so number 6 is a movie called Snack Shack. This is a coming of age comedy film directed by Adam Carter Raymer, starring Connor Sherry and Gabriel LaBelle, who we just saw a couple years ago in The Fablemans, and most recently this year in Saturday Night. But it's a story of two friends who get a job working the community pool Snack Shack in small town Nebraska City, and this is a kind of a throwback to the summer coming of age drama that we haven't really gotten in a very long time. It's similar to films like Superbad, but it is entirely grounded by the chemistry between its two lead characters, with Carter played by Connor Sherry and Moose played by Gabe LaBelle, and this budding romance with Mika Abdallah, who plays Lifeguard Brooke. And kind of like what I was saying with Honora, where it has moments where some of the dialogue in this is so funny that you're so caught off guard laughing, and then the emotional beats are so devastating, and it's one of those things where it's a coming of age story where it's it just going back to the kind of very high highs and the very low lows of youth and experience, and getting to enjoy that.
Okay. So you would compare it to something like Superbad, kind of one of those type of teen
I think
set
Spirit.
comedies?
I don't know about super bad. That's just kind of the first thing that came to mind. But this is much closer in, I think, tone and execution to Adventureland.
Okay.
If you remember that movie with
Yes.
Jesse Eisenberg, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, and Hunter agreed with you.
Yeah.
It's more akin to Adventureland. So now I know it's some bullshit if Hunter's.
Oh, boo you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you saw this? Did you see this in theaters, or did you see it on streaming?
I saw it in streaming. Hunter, who was just commenting in our stream, he was singing this movie's praises. So one night I saw it on streaming. I said, "All right, yeah, I'll check it out." And 5 minutes in, I was like, "Okay, I'm hooked."
Okay, awesome. Where did you see it? Streaming.
I think when I saw it, it was on. It was either on Prime or it was on Paramount. I can't remember which one.
Okay, I'll check it out then. I'll check it out then.
Reminds me of the way back.
The Way Back. I actually was that the movie with Ben Affleck, The Way Back.
No, the way back.
The Way,
That's
Way
the one
Back.
with Steve Carell
Oh, okay. Steve
and
Carell.
Sam Rockwell. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Dusk. You got your next movie coming up there. You got number 6.
My
And
number
what-
6 is The Substance. Substance is kind of one of those runaway hits. A lot of people praising it, a lot of people loving it. I didn't completely love it, but everything about it I thought was very solid. Great little camera moments, really good focus on just kind of what's happening right now, but also not letting that completely override what it's trying to say. The Substance is basically a black market serum that basically promises you're going to be younger, more beautiful, more perfect for someone who's aging out of their career. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. However, there's some side effects that happen. How bad? Real bad. Real bad. And I don't want to say anything more because really the biggest surprise for this one is you really just got to go in. It's really much. It reminded me of the 1980s movie The Stuff. But The Stuff, while The Stuff was marketed as a food, this is almost like a drug version of it for a very specific audience. But it's got a lot of body horror in here that we don't. Yeah, honestly, year 2024 is do you hate yourself? Do you just despise everything attributed to you in a very unhealthy way? Here's many movies that talk about this subject. If you aren't already tired and sick of this subject, we're going to hammer it home into you.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
how far it can go.
Yeah, if 2022 was like the year of generational trauma, this is the year of body dysmorphia.
Yeah, and for better or worse, this really does a really good job at not only just playing and just hating, and at also being a whole where you're at your career and feeling useless, but also wanting to relive that aspect of your life. But there are always dire consequences. Oh yeah, that'll be. 100 brings up a good point. There will be people that have never seen The Fly, and this will inspire watch it. It's going to be it'll be an interesting gateway horror movie for a lot of people.
Yeah, this was a movie that I mentioned it. I mentioned it when I did our review on the channel. Is that on the day I saw it, I didn't really eat much, so I ate something before I went to it, and that was a terrible mistake. I could feel myself gagging during the movie.
Yeah.
Awesome number 6 pick for Dust there. The Substance. All right, so I'm gonna get my number 7 here. And it's my first animated movie on my list, and that is going to be for Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2. Love this movie a lot. So this is a sequel, of course, to the first Inside Out film, dealing with some new emotions going on in Riley's head. She's entering the new stage of her life there, new school, trying to blend in, new friends there, trying to figure out how to fit in on this hockey team. So we're getting a little update on Riley's life there. And I think this is just on par, if not a little bit better, I think, than the very first Inside Out film, which is great. It's like you never know sometimes with these animated sequels, are they going to match up? But Pixar usually kind of knocks it out of the park. They've done it with the Toy Story sequels, and they've done it again with Inside Out, adding the new motions of anxiety in this as well, who's voiced by Maya Hawke. And then Hunter said that Josh mixed up Inside Out 2 with Moana 2 there. I think that'd be more on Hunter's list there than mine. But so I think that works really well there. And again, what it has to say there about emotions and about feelings and, kind of that stage of your life, I think it does a great job at that. And it does what Pixar does best there with children's entertainment. So very awesome there with this movie. So that is my number 7. Is Inside Out 2 there. All right. Nick, you got your next film here. It's number 5.
Okay. Number 5 is a movie that I have probably rewatched more than any other movie on my list. It's a movie that I have sung the praises of and shown to everybody I meet, and that is Boy Kills World. Because this movie, I think, for my money, it's the best action movie of the year. It's just so inventive with its cinematography. It has such a great physical performance from Bill Skarsgård, who, what a year that man had. Because not only the physical transformation, but getting all the action, having these incredible performances from the side characters like Brett Gelman, like Michelle Dockery, Famke Janssen, and of course my MVP from Warrior, rest in peace, Andrew Koji, getting to play a completely different character. This movie's like a sense of humor. I think it gives it a different flavor than a lot of action movies that are made today, because so many of them play it straight. But this movie, this is like a live action cartoon in the best way possible.
Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned Andrew Koji's in this. Isn't also Isaiah Mustafa is in this as well?
Yeah, Isaiah Mustafa, aka the Old Spice guy, who has one of my favorite, probably the funniest running gag. I showed this to a group of friends of mine, and the entire next day we were quoting him.
So just basically just gibberish.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think this was fun. Had a lot of good action sequences in it. Andrew Koji, he continues the trend of being in movies where he's not kicking ass. Really, he's kind of.
But unlike Bullet Train, where that felt like a real loss, here it's like more of a gain, because he's playing a completely different type of character than what he usually gets cast as.
Yeah, so I guess that's good. He's not getting typecast there as your typical roles there, so I think that's good for him. But yeah, this was a fun movie. The concept, the mute kind of protagonist thing, not much personality. I feel like we've seen a trend of that. That's like it kind of reminded me of that movie with that John Woo film, was Silent Night.
Oh, Silent Night. But this movie has the benefit of having his internal voice be H. John Benjamin.
True, it does have that added addition there. Yeah, could you just imagine
I would kind of love that, but I was a big fan of Archer back in the day.
I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I would love that, but I was a big fan of Archer back in the day. And you not only get the internal monologue, but he has his little sister who is I'm trying to remember who the actress who plays her, but it's another character that's in his head that kind of keeps it from getting too stale.
It's the actress from Happy Death Day, right? It's that actress, right?
No, Quinn Copeland, who plays young Mina.
Oh, okay, that actress, yeah. Okay, but yeah, it was fun there. I don't think it's one of my favorite action movies. I think Monkey Man Kill and Monkey Man and Kill are better there, but still fun. Hunter said top tier ending credit sequence. Put that up there. Okay. So Dusk, you got your number 5th pick there. And what is
number 5 is a movie we've already covered. It is Nosferatu. Okay. Pretty much everything you guys said before. Gothic horror is back, baby. And for better or worse,
we got some cinema for some freaks.
You do. You got some cinema for freaks. I'm always a fan of Gothic horror. I like Gothic style. Is this my favorite of the Edgar movies? Not necessarily, but I do respect it quite a bit. It can be a little long and plotting sometimes, a bit in pieces. It can have its moments where I'm not fully on board, but man, I can't deny it. The cinematography, the production, the costuming, the colors grading. Just a lot of this is top-notch stuff, and it's because becomes my number 5.
And on top of that, I feel like I gotta give an apology to Lily Rose Depp, because I was one of the people that after The Idol came out is like, damn girl, you might need to find a new agent. But
yeah,
I did not recognize your game, because this is probably on a physical level, this is probably one of the best performances of the year.
Even more so than Neil Tiger Free, do you think?
It's 1A, 1B.
Even more so than even Margaret Qualley, than me more substance.
Yeah, but that was makeup. That was makeup. That was all Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah. I just think she did real good in the
Yeah,
Irish Smoke
yeah.
there.
And also
I'm trying.
to give
Um,
Hunter's question.
Okay, yeah. He said, "What? So, what is your favorite thing?"
Hmm.
I think the Northman, honestly.
The Northman. Okay.
It just ekes out. It just barely ekes out, but I really enjoyed the fantastical nature of it a little bit more. The
Mhm.
almost like you're watching a folklorish tale of what
Mhm.
happened rather than a realistic take of what happened.
Mhm.
Similar to this, but I really do. It's kind of like I'm going, yeah, it goes back and
Mhm.
forth. The Light Northman and this is really just it's kind of back and forth.
Yeah, I go back between the Northman and the Lighthouse as my
Yeah,
favorite.
I mean, again, it's Egerton. The only one I know is on my bottom list that never quite moves is the Vivitch.
And even that movie's
Even then,
fantastic.
yeah, even then,
Yeah.
still good.
All right. So I'm on my number 6 pick right here. So for me, my number 6 pick would be His Three Daughters. This movie came out on Netflix. There, you got starring Natasha Lyonne, you got Carrie Coon, and you got Elizabeth Olsen there as the three daughters, as the movie suggests, and they all bounce off each other really, really well in this. Great performances from all three involved. Watching this, I'm surprised that. None of them really are getting awards attention from this, really, because I think, yeah, I mean, they all do such a fantastic job. I had to say who's the best one out of the three, maybe Natasha Lyonne and maybe Carrie Coon. I would probably go with either one of them because they have a little bit more to do than Elizabeth Olsen. But all three do such a fantastic job. And this is about three daughters who are being put together to take care of their father, who's in hospice care. And Jocelyn sounds about right there. Yeah, but yeah. So I think this is a fantastic film there, and I'm glad I was able to check it out there. I wonder how many people have actually seen this. If you haven't, I think this is a wonderful film to check out there. Very sad film there. I mean, you're dealing with somebody who is in hospice care. If anybody knows what
I
that
was about to
is,
say no shit.
yeah.
Got your father's in hospice.
Yeah, this feels like a comedy the same way The Bear is a comedy.
Thank you. Yes, basically, yeah.
So
Yeah, once someone goes in hospice, they don't come out.
So yeah, absolutely loved it. I thought it was really, really good. And Hunter, he reviewed it, I think, recently there with Bradley Martin. Bradley Martin there. He also reviewed it with there. People want to go check that out, the Real Pineapple Podcast there. So yeah, that is my number 6. Nick, you got your number 4 film there. What we got for number 4?
Okay, number 4, it's a movie that hits so close to home for me as a also half Asian kid who grew up in the early 2000s, and that's Dee Dee. Just too much of this movie, it felt so real between the kind of identity crisis that he has, the awkwardness that he has around the crushes that he has, the kind of in this kind of very very unique thing to kind of people of color and I think for Asian kids is kind of this sense of internalized racism that we get where even where there's like this competition between other Asian families that leads to so much self-hatred, this kind of awkwardness of just being a young kid, and all of it felt so real that I was laughing, but I was also just cringing in my seat the entire time I was watching this.
Brought up some bad memories.
Oh, yes. Oh, what are you talking about? My childhood was awesome. But on top of that, it has probably one of the most heart-wrenching scenes towards the end of it with Joan Chen, who plays his mother. And it's a scene that just moved me to tears when I saw this.
Yeah. Really great film. Did she get nominated for this?
She did not, and
What do you think? What do you think?
What do you think, man?
I was wondering because she was fantastic in this. I loved her in this movie quite a bit. Yeah, Joan Chen. I wish she'd get a little bit of awards attention. Yeah, because I did at least for best supporting. Yeah, I thought she was absolutely fantastic, and in this, I absolutely loved this movie. I saw it. I think I saw it on a streaming service. I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. So there's that. But Hunter said, Yeats Diddy is a fucking amazing triple features perfectly with Moonlight in 8th grade.
You do not want to put all those three together.
Not back to back. Jesus.
Can we have a sandwich at least? Can you put like something nice in the
Something
middle?
with some levity. God.
And that's did you see? Because I didn't see 8th grade. I know a lot of people comparing Dee Dee to 8th grade.
It is very spiritually similar to 8th grade.
Okay, yeah, but you don't think it's just like the same thing, pretty much like over again, pretty much.
No, because 8th grade it's coming at it from a more female focused perspective, and here you get that, that male version.
Also, there was that movie Mid-90s. I know a lot of people also saying that movie too. All right. So number 4, Dust. What you got for us?
Nick already talked about it on his list, but mine is Anora. One of the weirdest comedies I've seen in a while.
It feels kind of weird
and unintentionally.
It feels kind of weird to call this a comedy.
Yeah,
in
and yet there are genuine moments where I'm like, am I supposed to be laughing here? Because it's just kind of funny in like a really dark, twisted way.
Yeah, like the entire scene where Igor and the other goons are going into Vanya's house. It is the most anxiety-inducing and also hilarious scenes I've seen in a long time.
Nobody wants to do anything that everyone else is there for. None of them. None of them want to deal with his shit. Everything that you've said, Nick, I pretty much agree with. It's uncomfortable. It's kind of funny, but in a sad way. And it just unfortunately, it's just such a heartbreaking moment at the very end. That was just like, oh man.
Yeah, and I've had discussions about like what you come away with that scene, and everybody has a different interpretation of it, and all of them are equally valid. And that's a beautiful thing about art, that you can come away with something different.
Probably his most he makes a lot of film.
It's easily his most sympathetic protagonist.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's by far his most sympathetic and probably his most digestible.
Because I loved Red Rocket, but I also wanted Simon Rex in that movie to get hit by a bus.
Yeah, and he gets at least he gets the ending he deserved. May not be a bus, but he got something.
So that was your number 4 film.
That was my number 4.
And that is my number 5 film as well. It is Anora. Well,
there you go.
Sean Baker. He's one of those directors, one of the best directors out right now. People talk about the film Red Rocket, also Tangerine as well. For some people, he hasn't missed yet, Sean Baker. So, coming off of Red Rock, which I loved, it was one of my favorite movies of the year. It came out, and this is another one of his movies is, again, on my list of one of the best movies of the year. Mikey Madison, absolutely fantastic. I don't know if he's going to win for Best Actress. It's a little bit of stiff competition, but I wouldn't be surprised. She really carries this movie. She does a fantastic job in it. It really is the main kind of driving force of it.
She's holding the whole damn thing together.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great cast of characters in here. I was surprised. I didn't think I thought maybe he'd get overlooked, but the actor who plays Igor, he got nominated for Best Supporting there in Golden Globes, and I think he does it. He's really
well
good
deserved.
I thought he would maybe get a little bit overlooked, but he also does fantastic in this. But the movie. Sean Baker has a great talent for making things sad and then dramatic and then funny and then kind of dark and then bouncing between all of those different tones. I think he's got a real talent at that. So absolutely loved Anora. I thought it was really, really good. Hunter says because Tangerine is maddening. And Red Rocket is great, but still unpleasant. Haven't hated the main character more than watching Simon Rex and Red Rocket for sure. And I've watched Hannibal, and I haven't watched that. So that is my number 5 there. Nick, what you got? Number 3, man.
Oh, number 3, it is a movie that we've talked about with The Strange Darling, and like you said, this is a movie that is best seen cold, and I gotta take umbrage with your comment about the whole jumping around and different points in time in the non-linear storytelling. I feel like with this movie specifically, how it uses that non-linear structure, it only adds intrigue to the mystery behind who's who. And similar to another movie from a couple of years ago with Gone Girl, it's meant to challenge our preconceived notions of stories like this. It's meant to, uh, maybe take a second before you just judge a book by its cover without knowing the whole story. Yeah, Strange Darling, it is, especially in the, the first act where you only get half of the story, it is confusing. But upon rewatch, I really came away with loving this movie and really thinking it's one of the best of the year. It has one of my favorite performances from Willa Fitzgerald of this year, Kyle Gallner. He is just fantastic on screen. And any movie where, this is, has the trappings of that film that all of your pretentious film bro friends are saying, oh my God, you have to watch this. But I showed this to a group of my friends and they were all captivated by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Strange Dawn. I loved it. It's on my best of list. So that obviously it didn't bother me too much there. The structure in which it was told in. Great performance by Willa Fitzgerald. Kyle Gallner does a fantastic job. Also some good side characters that come in here and there, known by some well-known character actors.
Oh yeah, Barbara Hershey, the great Ed Begley Jr.
So yeah, I recommend people check it out. It's best, like I said, not knowing much going into it, and I think you see how you kind of react to it. And I think it's not a movie like Longlegs or Terrified that had all this kind of this is the scariest thing or this is the most wildest thing you ever will see. It's like okay, it's at that right point, so people can't go like, well, it's not that good. You know what I mean? Everybody's saying it's good, but yeah. All right. So Nick, you're gonna give us your third film there. What is it?
I think Dusk.
I mean, Dusk.
You meant
Dusk is
Dusk.
I mean, yeah. Sorry about that. Dusk. I mean, yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, I get it. We do, look identical.
Yeah. Dusk. Sorry about that. What's your third?
Okay.
movie?
So my number 3 is Dune Part 2. Visually incredible, sound design great, acting mostly good, and I say mostly, and there's a reason why it's number 3 and not higher up on that, because despite certain performances and certain story changes, this movie is incredibly impressive on multiple levels. It is a visual treat. Dennis does a great job. He does an incredible job of adapting a really hard to adapt book. And I've seen pretty much every iteration. While this isn't necessarily my favorite, and I did like part 1 more than this one, I just can't deny how much effort was put into it, how much visual splendor there is in this movie. And it just really captured it. If you saw this in IMAX, this was a treat. If you brought in earplugs, that also would have helped, because man, it gets loud. It gets very, very loud, and that's one of the bigger complaints. But man, you can't deny the sound design. I think the two things that really hold back this movie is Denise did some changes to the books that I felt unfortunately does not help and actually weakens some parts. It does unfortunately hurt some parts of it, and I hate to say this, the second part, I just don't like Zendaya. I just think she can't carry it with the rest of everybody else. And that's unfortunate, because she has a major part in these movies, and I think she just doesn't carry it with everybody else. And to my surprise, Timothée Chalamet ends up really carrying himself, getting to himself to be capturing that role of Paul Atreides, and really is able to kind of land it. But unfortunately, Zendaya just can't follow, and that's unfortunately the case. But despite all that, despite my problems with the movies, changing things up, despite my problems with the performance with Zendaya, still number 3 on my list. Totally worth seeing. Is a great science fiction interpretation. really great. Can't wait for part 3. It's going to be interesting because he's going to take up the second book, which is arguably way more boring, making something with it. Especially with the way that they had Zendaya change things with her running, doing what she does at the end, and her character that did not do that in the books. I'm going to go, well, how are you going to work with that? I'll be interested to see.
Okay. So that was your number 3.
That's my number 3. And yes, I know, Hunter, it is it's a hot take for liking 1 over the second part and for Zendaya, but I've made my feelings on Zendaya known. I think the best thing she's been in, honestly, has been Challengers, and that's because I don't think she had to try too hard in that role to with that one particularly.
Number 4 for me is going to be a film that Nick mentioned already. Didi. Didi. Loved this film. Saw it on Peacock there. I got a chance to see it on streaming. Heard a lot of talk about this movie being a great coming of age film. And yeah, this was my time. 13 in 2008, just like the main character was in there. Doing a bunch of videos there with his friends, trying to learn how to fit in. That kind of coming of age film. I know Nick already mentioned that movie, Snack Shack there, which is also another coming of age film, but I saw that it was set in 1990s there. And it seems like, you don't see now too many movies. It seems like they want to go more back to the past there, more back to the 90s instead of maybe like the early 2000s as far as coming of age films. So I appreciate this movie for doing that. And I know a lot. There's some really great stiff competition with Best Actor there. Many great performances. But I think this lead actor from him, the boy who plays in this as the lead, does a really good job at what he has to do, at all the emotions that he has to kind of grapple with in this movie. Isaiah Wong there does a really superb job at that. I already mentioned Joan Chen in this, who is the mother. What she goes through in this is also really fantastic. Would have loved to see her get nominated for her performance. And just, one of the great things about this movie is almost you can take any character from this movie and follow them and do a kind of movie about that. Even the sister in this, I think you could even follow her and do a movie about kind of her experience. And like, she's going to go, her thing is she's about to go off to college. So she's got a whole new journey ahead of her. But yeah, I absolutely thought this movie was fantastic. One of the better movies of the year. And shame it's not getting as much love as I thought it was around award season there. But a lot of great movies came out in 2024 there. So yeah, that is my number 4 pick. I'm gonna swing it around. So I'm right this time. It is Nick. So I'm right this time here for his number 2 film of the 2024 there.
Okay, number 2. It's one we've talked about, and that's Dune Part 2. I think is because I wasn't crazy about the Dune Part 1 when I saw it back in 2022, but upon rewatch, and especially with this in mind, I came away really loving both Dune movies. I feel visually it's absolutely stunning. The acting from the entire cast, Zendaya included, I feel like it's some incredible performances. This is probably the first movie I've seen Timothée Chalamet in where, okay, I get it. I understand the hype around this young man because this is an incredible, very complex performance from a character that you don't see a lot in big blockbusters, where so many like big event movies, they're about good versus evil, and in this one, it's a character who has to do some very reprehensible, possibly evil things, and it's a performance from Chalamet that fully understands the weight of what he has to do and still having to carry it on anyway. And on top of that, having the introduction of Austin Butler as a Fade Raltha, who has so much menace to this.
Yeah. Are you done? Or...
Oh, yeah, and it's the first movie in a long time where you hear how expensive it was. You hear this is like a big insane blockbuster, and it actually feels it when you see it in the movie theater. It was like I saw it in like that Dolby Cinema, and the chairs were shaking when them sandworms were running.
So that's your number 2 pick.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what your number 1 is going to be. And let me know. All right, Dustin, you got your number 2.
All right, my number 2 is Wild Robot. Well, it's just an enjoyable movie. Well animated, fun, simple little story, and I mean, honestly, just a great soundtrack, great animating design, great emotion to it. It's just it has it all in spades, and honestly, it's caught me by surprise at how I ended up really enjoying this movie. Honestly, I can't really say too much more other than what I've said in the review of Wild Robot. But yeah, this was definitely a surprise to me in how fun, and it felt like another Iron Giant, but doing something very different with it while still having a lot of fun. And honestly, a great work for DreamWorks there.
Yeah, very great. So that's your number 2 film.
That's my number 2.
That's your number 2 there. And for me, this is my number 3 film, is The Wild Robot there. For all the things that Dust mentioned, the things I said in the review, I cried like a baby during this movie. I mean, this movie was super emotional there. Love the voice work from everybody involved. You got a great cast. You have Lupita Nyong'o, who is the robot there. You also got Catherine O'Hara, who shows up there. Who's always a good time, always a good comedy presence in movies. Pedro Pascal. This was his 10th movie this year. He's always in shit now. But yeah, this was absolutely fantastic what they did with this. And it's always great when a movie just comes out and surprises you with it, and this did as well. The amount of heart and emotion in this movie is absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you don't like this movie, you just heartless. I mean, that's just pure and simple. You just must have got no heart, because yeah, this was absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I loved it. It's one of my favorite animated movies of the year by far. Loved everything about it. And apparently they're gearing up for maybe a sequel for this, because it's based on a book series, so the author's got a couple more books maybe they want to adapt from this. So yeah, I loved The Wild Robot. It is my number 3 movie. All right there. Nick, you got your number 1, man.
Oof, number 1. And hey, Hunter, don't you know? Josh, don't you know? Don't you know?
Despicable Me 4?
No.
Oh.
Don't you know? You got to pump it up. It's The Substance. It's a movie that I had, it was a movie that I was very excited for off of Coralie Farge's last film, Revenge, which this is her first feature film since then. And oh my goodness, the things that she touches on in this movie, the themes of, aging, of body dysmorphia, the absolute grotesqueness of some of the imagery that she puts on screen. It is amazing to watch. What this film's subject matter is, how it uses the lens of body horror to discuss that. It is quite spectacular. It has probably a career best performance from Demi Moore, who, well, deservedly so, won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in the Musical or Comedy. I feel like she's one of the front runners. And we talk about this a lot, and I feel like it's come up a lot this year, where there's been this whole discussion about nudity, about the image of the female body. I feel like Farge is one of the few directors that knows how to shoot it while making the point, while always having a purpose behind it, because there is an insane amount of close-up shots of butts. There's a lot of butts in this movie, but it gets to a point where you're kind of like almost uncomfortable watching it. And that's very much the point of it. It's like, isn't it kind of weird that, we kind of reduce a lot of women in Hollywood just to these very specific body parts, in the point where the third act, it is absolutely bonkers insane. And I'm kind of regretful that I ate before I went to see the movie, but not so much, because yeah, this ended up being my favorite movie of the year.
The number 1.
Yeah, this was number 1. It was a tight race between the top 3.
Okay. And what kind of pushed this kind of maybe over the edge of
What pushed this over the edge is, thinking about it more and more as I've come away with it. And like Hunter's saying in the chat, this is kind of like the female version of Michael Fassbender's Shane, where you get to see this how Hollywood and the entertainment industry, how it kind of creates this ridiculous standard of beauty to the point where, if where we have this epidemic of drugs like Ozempic, like all these like crazy crash fad diets that everybody and their mom is trying out, and all to try and slow down this inevitable thing that is getting old. And no more is it stated than in the most heartbreaking scene of the movie, where Demi Moore is getting ready to go out on that date, and she just can't stop fixing herself. She can't let go of that and just get out the door. She's just haunted by this looming specter of this more perfect, more beautiful version of herself with Margaret Qualley.
Yeah. And Dusk, he's got his number one movie there. It's a movie I have not heard of, so it'll be interesting to get his thoughts on this. Dusk, what is your...
All right, this one's a unique one. This one is movie One Life. Originally, this came out at the tail end of 2023. However, the American release and the subsequent releases didn't come out until 2024. So this is technically a very, very early 2024. This movie is about the life of a individual who spent most of his life saving children in Poland, from Nazi-occupied Poland. He's lived a very quiet and simple life. He did the best he could, rescuing of hundreds of children from Prague and Poland, invading Czechoslovakia. And he lived a quiet life. And one day, and he's as an elderly man, his wife tells him to clean out some of his closet while she's away. And he has to do so. And he finds a scrapbook full of photos, pamphlets, things he saved of that time. And he ends up, for posterity's sake, donating most of that to a museum, just for posterity alone, not thinking he's going to get anything out of it. Well, all of a sudden, it becomes a big moment where the news starts reporting on him, the news starts reporting about it, and he starts being contacted. And then in a famous real-life situation, he's invited to a television studio. And the television studio, famously, he's in the front row. And in a little moment blip, they reveal that, this gentleman has done this, Mr. Winton. You've done this, this, and this, and you've saved these lives, and we'd like you to meet the individuals who, the children who have grown up, and people that you saved. And he expects maybe a handful or two. And it's revealed to him that the entire audience are related to the people that he saved. Wow. The entire audience. And that more would come, but they can't fill the audience. And I just, and it, not only the performances from Anthony Hopkins, who doesn't have to prove himself, doesn't have to do anything, and he just delivers a fantastic performance. Helen Bonham Carter does a fantastic job in this film, just negotiating for the ability for Nicholas to do what he's got to do. The actor playing younger Nicholas is fantastic. He does a great job. And most of this movie is like, he doesn't defeat evil with a punch. He does it over long, prodding documents, late night document signing, dealing with internal affairs, dealing with people to get people through in the proper channels, spending an enormous amount of time. His story is completely captivating, and I was just glued to the TV the entire time. And it's a shame that this movie wasn't as much talked about, because I thought it was just an incredibly well done movie, and I highly recommend anybody check it out. One Life, Anthony Hopkins, really recommend it. Fantastic film. It is an interesting controversy with this film, which I think was absolutely ridiculous. There was a controversy that in the marketing, Winston had saved children from Central Europe, but people protested. People, in quotes, protested, and the BBC film changed the film's description, going, predominantly Jewish children. The fact that you went out of your way to not go just children in general, and that you had to blanket it down to a specific demographic showed how just hollow, not only of a controversy that was, just vile that whole thing even is. The fact that he was able to save as many, the fact he was able to save one, and the fact that he was able to save as many as he did, regardless of the race, nation, creed, that's what matters. And to top that off, I would highly recommend this movie. Check it out if you can. Great performances.
Yeah, it seems like it's on streaming services that people can watch. May have to pay for it, but sounds like from Dust's recommendation, maybe it's worth it to pay for it. They're only about $5 there to rent it on all the available streaming services out there. So very nice. I will check out this film. Hunter said, God, I don't like agreeing with Dust as much. He's writing in the film does an incredible job of detailing how daunting of a task it is. There.
Why don't you like agreeing with me? I'm always right.
All right. So I'm gonna give my 2, and
Yes,
then do my last 2 films here. All right, so it's a film that you all talked about very much, Dusk and Nick. It is The Substance. The Substance. Fantastic film there. Maybe you want to go check out the director's last film, Revenge, which I also heard is pretty badass there. I've been hearing that, so I'll be checking that out as well. But yeah, I mean, this year, I said 2024, Year to Hate Yourself. Fantastic job from Margaret Qualley, Demi Moore, Dennis Quaid in The Shrimp. Really great job there with this. And usually, actors will do a role there, which is all about kind of a meta reflection on themselves and their careers. I mean, Mickey Rourke had it with The Wrestler. Jean-Claude Van Damme had it with JCVD. Demi Moore now has it with The Substance. It's a tight race. I mean, Mikey Madison, Demi Moore, maybe who's going to get nominated and who's maybe going to win for Best Actress. I would love to see Demi Moore win for this. I mean, I think she does a fantastic job in this. Margaret Qualley's continuously building her great resume of films that she's kind of been in. I mean, not Drive Away Dolls, but other great stuff there that she's kind of been in. But this movie was really great, and where it goes at the end there. This is another movie that you probably want to not know that much kind of going into it, and kind of watch it there just for the experience of it. This was really, really good. I loved watching this movie and what it kind of had to say, as Nick mentioned, about body image, about just kind of the female experience, and absolutely wonderful there of a movie for Substance there, and it's my number 2 movie. The reason it's not, I would say, my number 1, I guess just with the experience of the body swapping of exactly how much she's getting out of it is a little iffy, but I still think it delivers the message really, really well there, and does a fantastic job. All right, so for my number 1 movie of the year, it is going to be for the one and only. It is Dune Part 2, Doing It 2 there. And this was a movie early in the year it came out. And it was for a long time was on my list of one of the only great movies of 2024 before some other movies came out. This came out really early. I think it came out in...
Oh, yeah. It came out like February?
Yeah, fairly early on.
Fairly early on there. And this lived up to it. Denis Villeneuve does a great job. I mean, again, we talked about Sean Baker, we talked about Robert Eggers as far as directors who hasn't had a bad film yet, and also Denis Villeneuve is also in that category as well, from Blade Runner 2049, from the first Dune film, for Arrival, for Sicario. I mean, fantastic body of work that Denis Villeneuve has done, and I think Dune 2 is better than Dune 1. I think a lot of Dune 1 is kind of set up for this movie. I mean, given how expansive and big a lot of the book is, a lot of the first one is set up. So here you get to see a lot more things, kind of actions kind of going on in this Dune. The new additions to the cast, Dave Bautista, Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Jon Voight, do a fantastic job coming into this movie and adding a lot of dimension to it. Timothée Chalamet, I mean, with this movie really proven, leading man status, I think, with this job, and just the effects of this movie. Seeing it on IMAX, seeing the giant sandworms, that all looks very, very fantastic. I mean, yeah, this sequence right here, we actually rise the Sandworm for the first time. Thrilling. It's really exhilarating here. Disagree with Dust. Love Zendaya a lot in this movie. There, I know she's getting a lot of praise for her work in Challengers, which I also think she's very good in here. But I think she's better in Dune. I loved a lot what she did here. And yeah, I think Zendaya. As much as Timothée Chalamet proved how much of a leading man he was here, I also think Zendaya proved with this and Challengers how much of a leading woman she is there with both those films. So yeah, Dune 2. Absolutely great. Loved it a lot. One of the best blockbusters of the year. It probably will get nominated for Best Picture. They'll usually throw in like, hey, what was a great blockbuster that also was, highly critically acclaimed, and probably Dune 2 will be that movie. Unless they throw in, they want to say, fuck it, let's throw in Deadpool and Wolverine. They maybe throw in that.
They're not going to do that.
It's like, hey, we got to fill these slots somehow. Let's throw in, Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's do that. Get Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds to come up there. But fantastic film, Dune 2. Can't wait for Dune 3 to see what Denis Villeneuve does with that. And that is my number one movie of 2024. Yeah, awesome stuff there.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you. Great list all around there.
Thank you.
From everyone.
Thank you.
Involved there. Take a bow then. Take a bow.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Hunter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can't wait to see Hunter's list. Garfield, Despicable Me 4, Divorcing the Black, Mea Culpa. I think those are all going to be on this list. Can't wait to see his list there.
688's definitely make an appearance on his list.
6888. All that good stuff is making it on the list. Madam Web.
Craven the Hunter.
All that good stuff there is going to be on there. So I can't wait to see your list there, Hunter. Nice diverse list. But